What's up, guys? Welcome to Forge Master Metal Reviews, the place where you can get the most out of your metal releases, artists and metal fans alike. I'm your co-host, Brandon.
Hey, nice to see you. I am Ben Foe. This is our best albums of the month, where we give you what caught our eyes for the best metal albums in April.
Make sure to follow us on Spotify. The link is in the description so that you can get these playlists and check out these bands. And hey, if you like metal content like this, hit that like and subscribe button. It helps us continue to bring you more content like this.
We got some ripping traditional heavy metal, synthwave, gore-obsessed death metal. Let's hit all of our favorites for the best metal albums in April.
Face the danger.
Haunt, Beautiful Distraction came out April 2nd, 2021 on Church Recordings. Haunt have made waves in the scene with Trevor Church's DIY, non-stop branding and releasing of countless banger albums since 2017. Finding massive success on Bandcamp, Haunt is a solo project bringing in influences from traditional heavy metal along the lines of Halloween or Iron Maiden, but definitely defined their own style and brand within the heavy metal genre. Beautiful Distraction is Haunt's sixth full-length album, and as much as I've loved pretty much every Haunt album to date, Beautiful Distraction is absolutely my favorite. Every single song is a freaking banger, full of addictive vocal melodies and harmonies, insane guitar work and solos, and just overall fantastic songwriting in general. The entire album has no fat on it whatsoever, completely dominating their own niche of 80s heavy metal flavor inspired by punk and thrash from California. As artists and musicians ourselves, Haunt is a massive inspiration and band to take note of when investigating what it takes to be a successful musician in the modern metal world. For those interested, we interviewed Trevor Church on exactly those successes and what's needed to be your own boss and leader in the modern music game and live off of your own art and music.
I don't have to go to a day job because of Bandcamp. Bandcamp didn't exist, I'd have a job.
There's an unbelievable amount of energy packed into the 38-minute runtime of Beautiful Distraction. Haunt has a ton of really cool merch and collectibles released around the album that is absolutely worth checking out. We give this album a 4.5 out of 5 and cannot wait to see what Trevor puts out next. His goal of 20 albums sounds insanely hard, but with talent like this, he's gonna smash it.
Today, we learned of the new Darkthrone album on the horizon. Well, while we're waiting for that in June, I highly recommend you put on Spectral Wound's latest album, A Diabolic Thirst, to help hold you over. Spectral Wound is a name that we've been seeing float around our comment section quite a bit this month, and I believe it has definitely gotten the appropriate response from the black metal scene. This is raw, visceral black metal that channels the spirit of the greatness that was the 90s Norwegian black metal movement. There is some really fantastic riffing on this album that must be heard by my fellow guitar players. There is a dark yet melodic atmosphere which is pretty standard for this genre, but Spectral Wound doesn't hesitate to put their own spin on it. Overall, I'm really impressed by this record. Out of the 6 songs, 3 of them really stood out. You can find those on the Spotify playlist linked below. But don't get me wrong, there's no use skipping any tracks on this album. You'll want it as a whole piece. While I do wish the vocals were a bit more diverse, this is a black metal record that should stand out among the competition in 2021. I'm giving A Diabolic Thirst 4.5 out of 5 blood-filled chalices.
Stone Healer Conquistador released April 30th independently. We say it all the time on this channel. We love when a DIY band absolutely nails it with their release. Progressive blackened tech death duo, yes, you've heard that right, Stone Healer have released a fantastic debut full-length album here with Conquistador. Hailing from North Carolina, Stone Healer are made up of 2 brothers, Dave on guitar, bass and vocals, and Matt on drums, Kaminsky. This release is highly impressive and one of the most fresh and up-and-coming bands that you've never really heard about. Sure, you're probably thinking, damn Brandon, you're really selling this, and yes I fucking am, but I wouldn't if I didn't believe in the project. This album is a huge mashup of Alice in Chains, meets Enslaved and Ulcerate. Dave is an absolute monster on vocals and the stringed instruments, and for those who think the name sounds familiar, he was the mixing and mastering engineer for Fires in the Distance, Echoes from Deep November last year. The drums are incredibly well played and executed, and the compositions keep you always guessing. Every time I spin this album, I discover something new that adds another earworm to the picture. There's acoustic guitar passages, a rock and roll feel in parts of the songs, and technical death and black metal mixed together with perfection and ease. This band is wonderfully unique, and you need to pay attention to them. The only slight ding that I would give the album is 51 minutes is a tad on the long end of the spectrum for the runtime, but I have no idea what song I would cut, so don't listen to me. They've got some really cool merch, t-shirts, CDs. Definitely go grab something. You will not be disappointed. 4.5 out of 5.
You shouldn't be surprised about this one here, folks. Cannibal Corpse has released a gore-drenched riff fest that is guaranteed to be talked about for years to come. Violence Unimagined has taken the scene by storm with its return to grotesque, boundary-pushing artwork and mind-numbing guitar riffs. This band has been full throttle since its inception, and it's absolutely crazy to think that these guys are in their 40s and 50s, and they're absolutely pulverizing a scene that wants things more and more extreme. Age is just a number, Forge Masters. Take care of yourself as best as possible, and you too can be a 50-year-old slinging death metal riffs and blast beats. But all right, I'm not going to get into this album too much more, as we do have a wonderfully edited long-form piece about the success of Cannibal Corpse and how it is reflected in Violence Unimagined. Be sure to go check that out. Link should be floating right above my head at some point during this segment. This one gets 4.5 out of 5 blood-covered psychopaths. Great stuff from an American classic.
The Lion's Daughter Skin Show, released April 9th on Season of Mist. I found this record based on recommendations from Metal Trenches and the Metal Meltdown. Go follow those guys if you haven't yet. Absolutely fantastic metal reviewers. I've been completely entranced with this record since it dropped, and for good reason. The Lion's Daughter set out to make a pop album, funny enough, and ultimately failed, but what came out of it instead is this really addictive mashup of John Carpenter horror movie synth vibes mixed with industrial and black metal. This album is short and sweet and definitely won me over with its unique take utilizing horror movie soundtrack atmospheres, the white horror movie album art, and nothing but evil in the metal influences. I do think the band is going to be at a crossroads ultimately with this album, as there are two very different but amazing directions on Skin Show that work, and that is dark synthwave with rock influences and blackened sludge with synth elements. Their merch game is on point, and the horror movie vibes centered around the album art and cyberpunk neon aesthetics, truly a sight to behold. The band describes the album as a soundtrack to Times Square in the 1970s, the epicenter of sin and salacious misdeeds, a haven for sex, drugs, and scum beneath the inviting glow of neon signs dangling in sleazy adult stores, a place where angels fear to tread. The Lion's Daughter have certainly nailed the sound of this, and the art fits these themes perfectly. I love this album. It is easily an album of the year contender for me. 4.5 out of 5.
Blaze Bayley's War Within Me came as a complete and total surprise. I went into this one totally blind, having only heard the name Blaze Bayley in a Godspeed You Black Emperor song. Mind you, the spelling is completely different, so I really wasn't sure what to expect from this. I was pretty floored when the former Iron Maiden vocalist and multi-instrumentalist that is Blaze Bayley started belting out tracks about struggles with mental health, overcoming poor mental attitudes, sleep paralysis, and how much of a fucking gangster Stephen Hawking was. Seriously, there's 3 tracks on here paying tribute to some of the greatest scientists of our time. How fucking cool is that? War Within Me really has all of the elements that I love about good, clean, power, and traditional metal. Incredible soaring vocals, simple songs, great licks, positive attitude and imagery. This is what we need in 2021. To find my favorite tracks, Go to the Benfo's Favorites of 2021 Spotify playlist below, and you'll get some of my favorites from this album. War Within Me is well deserving of a score of 4.5 out of 5. Galactic Star Defenders. Check this one out if you want to feel great and get fucking pumped up.
Calling the void of an unholy fire.
Crown, the End of All Things, released April 16th on Pelagic Records. At first I was confused because when I read that Crown had a new album, I had just heard the Crown's new album, and while that was great, the French-based duo known as Crown have crafted something extremely unique, far from the sounds of The Crown. So don't get confused. The End of All Things is a highly emotional and surprising album, mostly rooted in somber tones, electronic elements, and unexpected dark adventures lie within. It's difficult to label Crown, but you can tell that the band loves dark and melodic music, which isn't surprising given that the two members, David Husser, who worked with Peter Gabriel in Depeche Mode, and Stéphane Azam, who was the sound engineer for Alcest at one point, have combined forces to make something very, very unique here. This album has monumental, huge soundscapes and bellowing atmospheres ranging from electronica to metal. If I were to compare the atmosphere and vibe to any band making music today, I would say Catatonia's more electronic elements, but Crown has harsh vocals littered all over the music as well, with the somber tones inlaid in the clean vocal performances. The album makes me feel nothing but primal dread, but in a way that keeps me coming back for more. Fans of early gothic music like Fields of the Nephilim or even Violator era Depeche Mode will absolutely love this record. They've got some t-shirts, vinyl, CDs available on the Pelagic Records web store, so definitely pick something up. They absolutely deserve the support. If you're feeling something a little different, give The End of All Things a shot. 4.5 out of 5.
Last year, Brandon introduced us to Russian sludge doomsters Crust in their sophomore album, And a Dirge Becomes an Anthem. Well, for the third time in as many years, Crust is back with Stoic, a crushing post-metal release that left me awestruck and wondering, who the hell did I just listen to? This April 2nd release came out pretty quietly. I didn't really see any fanfare for it or see its name get thrown around, so I'm glad that they've remained on our radar because I really enjoyed last year's record. This Crust album doesn't sound anything like that, though, which is why I was left confused as to who the hell I just heard. It is more akin to an Old Man Gloom or Neurosis record with its massive riffs, shouted vocals, and a feeling of emptiness, despair, and dread. There's a good amount of variety on this record though, but it never strays from its roots of being grounded in slimy, toxic sludge and doom metal. A simple black metal inspired song like A Blind Man in Darkness really showcases their way of being heavy as fuck while still maintaining groove and melody. This is a great album. I'm really excited to put this one on a playlist with some of my other favorite post-metal sludgy bands like Neurosis, Ren, Cult of Luna, Isis, etc., etc. This is a great record. I give it 4.5 out of 5 blind beggars.
What metal albums did you love from April? Let us know in the comments below. Do not forget to enter our giveaway to win Cannibal Corpse Violence Unimagined on vinyl. The link should be on the screen somewhere over here to see how you can enter.
April was a month where we definitely had some overlap. I was really glad to see that Brandon chose Crown and The Lion's Daughter. Those are game-changing records. As always, go with the gods, our Metal Forge brethren. Don't forget to fire up the chainsaws and remember, everything must go! Take care.